Welcome to the Scholar Chronicles. I'm Dr. Lokias, a historian, and in this podcast, I ask fellow scholars to share their personal stories from the field. All scholars have these stories, and often we share it among ourselves privately and rarely in public. But I think these stories are interesting because they shed light on the research we do, the challenges we face, and ultimately the relationship between scholarship and society. Do like the video and subscribe to the channel for future episodes. So very happy to have with us today a friend and a former colleague when I was in Korea at Sogang University. Welcome to the podcast, Jiwon.
Hi. Should I introduce myself right now?
You can, please
Okay.
do.
Okay. I'm Jiwon. Nice to meet you, everybody. And now, when I was with Kasten, we were working for Southeast Asian Studies project, right, at Sogang University.
That's
Uh,
right.
and before that, I received a PhD degree in political science at Ohio State University with a PhD dissertation titled The Politics of Transitional Justice in Post-Suharto Indonesia. And then after that, I taught international relations at Changwon National University. Changwon is an industrial city of Korea near Busan. And then right now, I'm affiliated with the College of Humanities, Seoul National University. The department is Department of Asian Languages and Civilizations. And we have four majors like West Asia, India, Southeast Asia, and Japan. Yeah, I'm now teaching in Southeast Asian major, and we aim at like interdisciplinary or humanities focused education. And we have a BA and MA programs.
Jiwon was one of the colleagues I could get along very well with at Sogang University. And I don't know if you know, Jiwon, when I first went to Sogang, it seemed like the Korean Southeast Asian studies was the next big hope, in Southeast Asian studies, because at the time the places like Cornell, the American Southeast Asian studies, were all struggling, right, financially, and people were leaving, and it seemed that some of them were coming to Southeast Asia, to Singapore, maybe to Australia a little bit, and also to Korea and Japan. So there seemed to be a lot of optimism then. So I spent about 4.5 years in Korea. And during my time there, I was always thinking, why are Koreans interested in Southeast Asian studies, and what is the Korean contribution to Southeast Asian studies? So that is the big kind of question I want to untangle today. And so just to kind of briefly go back to what Jiwon was saying earlier. So Jiwon is a South Korean, and she works on Indonesian politics, specifically things like human rights, political violence, transitional justice, and I think she has also worked on, kind of other parts of Southeast Asia now, like Thailand, where she is now. So tell us, Jiwon, at the beginning of your academic journey, why Indonesia?
Why Indonesia? Okay. Personally, I was not interested in pursuing graduate study. After wrapping up my 4 years of student activism, and I had one semester left, and then I had to decide everything like my career, and I think I was going to become a journalist, and I took a test for English test to apply for the journalist position, etc. But before that semester, I took a trip as a backpacker to Thailand and Laos. Before that, I visited Cambodia and Laos, Cambodia and Vietnam when I was a second year student at the university. It was very interesting, and then I went back to Korea, and I had to retake all the classes I took F because of my busy schedule as an undergraduate student. And I had like 5 credit left, and I filled the 5 credits with Southeast Asian culture and Southeast Asian history. And then I just clicked with the Southeast Asian studies in a few weeks, and I don't know, so quickly I decided to become a Southeast Asian Asianist, researcher of Southeast Asian politics or whatever. But at that time, I was not very confident with my grades and everything. So I thought like, I'm not sure whether this is right or not, but I thought like the quickest way to getting into graduate school was to pursue political science, because I will have a BA from political science. So yeah, I applied for the MA program at my home university, and then I wrote a MA thesis on Thaksin government in Thailand. So at first it was not Indonesia. Indonesia a bit kind of scared me. At the time I didn't tell this about this to my Indonesian friends, but at the time, like there were magazine covers with the corpses from Aceh conflict and etc. So it was a bit scary at the time. Although later I became a researcher of Aceh post-conflict, yeah, justice and reconciliation.
Right.
And so anyway, yeah. And then after that, I had to continue my study, right, to become a real specialist of Southeast Asia. And then, yeah, everybody at my home university advised me to go to America, to the US, because that's how like academic elites, pursue their career. You go to the US and you get into some program and then get a PhD and come back to South Korea. So I applied at like 16 different universities, I think, and only one admitted me, which was Ohio State University. And Ohio State University is a big university, but it does not have a specialized Southeast Asian program or Southeast Asian center. It is not a like plus institution, which I believe that the Native American students get scholarship by studying Southeast Asian studies there. So, well, we had this my advisor, Dr. Bill Liddle, at this Department of Politics, like 20, I think 19 days before I started my PhD program, Thailand experienced a coup. My goal was to study contemporary politics, and then if you just repeat coup and elections and another coup, and it's not really ideal for your PhD study, right? Because maybe you need to rewrite everything. Indonesia looked like pretty stable at the time. So yeah, I decided to, and then I was not really confident with my Thai language at the time. I'm not really confident with my Thai language at this time. And then Ohio State did not have a Thai language classes. Indonesian, I thought maybe I could learn for myself. And then at that time, my soon-to-be husband was spending some months in Jakarta. So I went to spend 2 months, I think, 1 or 2 months with him. And I learned some Indonesian. So I could do this. I could manage this. Yeah, manufacturers.
Right. It wasn't like a linear journey, right? Things happen along the way and outside your control. But I guess that's what makes the research interesting, because it responds to what is happening, right? I just want to ask you quickly, your student activism, right? You kind of mentioned that briefly at the beginning. I don't know actually about that. You were an activist about Korean issues? Was that what you were doing?
Yeah, a Korean issue. So I entered the university in 1999, and the Korean student activism is well known for the 80s, and now the very famous politicians from the 80s generation. But in my idea, the generation in which there were numerically most numeric, the largest number of activists were from the 90s generation, like the early 90s, because before 1987, you could not really freely maneuver the political sphere, and that after that, boom, and there were like student councils and every like still illegal and also legal, so many student groups blossomed. So like those who entered 1990, 1991, I think at that time they already believed that the student activism was in decline. But I think at that time the student activism was like the most active in South Korea, and we were like hanging on to the institutional legacy of the time. So there were very few students interested in student activism, but there were so many things to manage. So we were like, bureaucrats and also like activists. So, but our generation had, I think, we were not just the latecomers. We came after the, in Korea, we say IMF crisis, the East Asian financial crisis. So the labor issues, we protested with the workers to stop layoffs, etc. And then, we had the issues of our generation, and also like feminism, etc.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we had this now almost bankrupt, but moved to build a new political party based on labor, the Korean Democratic Labor Party. I was also
So I would like to know if that student activism history, your history, had a kind of continuing influence on your research on Southeast Asia, and if you think that political issues are ultimately universal issues and not specific to Korea, how do you bring that? If you did, how did you bring that to your study of Thailand and Indonesia?
Well, okay. One thing that I realized recently was that it is not easy to make friends in a faraway country. And actually, both my MA's research and PhD research were very successful, I think, if I look back. I could meet wonderful people, and they really helped me a lot. They're still helping me. And so one thing that my personal legacy of student activism gave me is the network. Okay, so there's now, K-drama, K-pop, and everything. But before that, there was like, do you know John Tae? John Tae? You don't know John Tae?
No.
Really?
What? Who is he?
This is interesting. Yeah, John Tae. John Tae is the Korean labor activist who burned himself.
Okay.
So, yeah. If you go to like, because in Thailand and Indonesia, there were networks between labor groups and also, progressive organizations. So if I go to Indonesia or Thailand, people ask me like, "Do you know John Tae?" And we keep talking and we become good friends. And then my Indonesian friend just mentions, "Oh, I used to write on this KDLP, Korean Democratic Labor Party," and then I say, "Oh yeah, I worked there. I was a student activist there." And then we can click. In Thailand too, like I went there to study this organization called Samachakunjon, which is the Assembly of the Poor English. And how can the people trust me? Like one thing was that I could be connected you to like networks, right? The personal networks, but also that there was a representative from the KDLP who visited their conference in Bangkok, and it was somebody I knew. Like, we greeted each other, and maybe they could trust me. So the personal network that was very helpful to me. Right now, I'm not a part of any social movement in Korea, so I'm
Right.
not contributing at all. But yeah, and the issues that I brought to my research as a former student activist, I think it was one of the things was like the wonder I had, like how could I not know about these things? Like for example, East Timor, Timor-Leste, the issue was very hot in the 1990s. But in Korea, like I don't know, only 3 or 4 people were interested in Timor-Leste issue, and there was almost no like solidarity movement for Timor-Leste. So yeah, once I googled like the newspaper articles, there were very few before 1998. So yeah, how could we not know about on that and we're not interested in these issues? Was one of my questions. Right now, I don't think I have the strong identity as a former activist or something like that. But in my 20s, yes, I thought like I still part, maybe a future part of the activism. So yeah, another thing that I realized was that the both like organizations which was my also based on research, and then topic of my research were those who creatively connected the NGO aspect of issues of fighting and donors, and then also mass organization aspects, like the Assembly of the Poor. It had a secretariat, Friends of the Poor, and then they had this environmental issues that can be potentially very attractive to donors, but also the activists were still leftists, and they had this mass organizations they are working with. Like so, for example, in 2005, I went to a workshop in Chaam. Chaam is one of the beaches in central Thailand with slum Sipak people. Slum Sipak is 4 regions slum networks. So slum, yeah,
I've worked with
residents
them
from.
before as well.
Huh?
I met them before as
Really?
well. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah,
My
yeah.
very unsuccessful Thai research.
Really.
The
And
Thai,
slum
yeah, there were
yeah,
lots of Thai women who were kind of mobilizers, right? In
right,
this
right.
network. Yeah, yeah,
Right. Yeah, they were very kind to me.
yeah, yeah.
Anyway, yeah, for 3 days. And then the Indonesian one was also the Ikohi is my base of research. It's victims organizations. So yeah, it has an issue of enforced disappearances, which is of course very important, and also this part as not really mass, but yeah, membership of victims who are agents of change themselves.
So yeah, when I guess when without these organizations and networks to help, it would have been very difficult for an outsider
Right,
to go and
right.
what was the response when you first approached them and talked to them? Were they very excited to help?
I don't think so because yeah, yeah. Are you very excited with the helping of students?
Usually they are very busy, right? I know that
Very busy,
often they are
very
very busy
busy,
with their own
very
activism.
busy. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. In Indonesia, I emailed like 5 different organizations, like famous NGOs in the field of transitional justice or enforced disappearances,
Right.
and nobody answered to my email. So Ikohi was the only organization I think that answered to my email request of interview. So I visited the office, and then yeah, I visited them again and again, and I visited. I almost lived there. I visited them like once or twice a week and talked to the activists. The activists were, yeah, they had two multiple roles. One as an eco-his programmer, but also as a leftist organizers. And then they were very open to talking to me Yeah. I think the French are now mostly they most of them abandon their like leftist organizer identity and focus on their NGO activities. But anyway, they were very good people. I'm always grateful. In Thailand, yeah, I have this one friend who is helping me to this day.
Yeah.
So I think I don't know, but there's this culture of taking care of people in Thailand. You say dule, something like that. I'm a fan of Thai TV series, and you listen to this word like dule very often. You take care of your like your boyfriends, girlfriends, family members, friends. So I don't know. My friend is a very good-hearted person, and at some point she decided to take care of me. So she brought me here and there, and yeah, in August we also met, and we will meet in a few days. And she said she will bring me and my kids to Chiang Mai in October, because
Oh,
yeah,
that's
she's
really
now
nice.
now working in a social enterprise and organic farms and etc.
Also in Indonesia, do you think that's the same culture?
I don't think so, but Indonesians are generally more open to foreigners, I think, but not really, not always though. So I think one was this the social, I don't know, social student activity, their interest in uh student activism and labor activism in Korea. Because this group of activists that I'm friends with, they said they actually watched like Korean TV clips and then tried to imitate the strategies of labor activism, how to stage demonstrations and etc. And I read the same thing from a memoir of East Timorese activists in the 1980s. Like they didn't know how to stage demonstrations, so they listened to the radio, and there were like news about South Korean activists staging demonstrations. So they tried to imitate. So yeah, for them, like South Korea is one of the countries where they can learn from about how to tactics like how to stage demonstrations. So their way of demonstrations, according to them, are a bit different from the traditional, I don't know, Indonesian way of demonstration. And also, there was a very small part, but after I left Thailand in 2005, suddenly there was a big surge of popularity of Korean culture contents like K-drama. And then, yeah, when I first visited this Ikohi office as in the Indonesian Victims Organization office as a regular visitor, a girl approached me and they said she was so fascinated with the Boys Over Flowers, the Korean version, and then yeah, we became friends, and she helped me a lot, and then she came to Korea later as an MA student. She lived with me. Yeah, that was one of the maybe
I see. That
element
helped
there.
too.
Yeah, that helped too.
When I went to the Philippines to do some field work, the organization asked me to pay like a fee to help them, with the cost, which I understand, to bring me around and spend time, introduce squatters for me to interview. Did that happen also in Thailand in your case and Indonesia?
I think that's the Filipino thing. So yeah, I I did a very short research in the Philippines in 2018, and then my former professor, who was a visiting professor in Korea, introduced me to an institute at UP, and there was she suggested me to become a visiting researcher there, and there was a fee for visiting researchers, and I kind of think that's reasonable
Yeah.
because it takes administrative works and everything. But in the end, I could not become their visiting researcher because my visit was too short, like 1 week. But without any fee, these Filipino scholars helped me really a lot. Yeah, the Filipinos, I was so surprised. Like, why are they helping me so much? Like, yeah, their hospitality, I cannot really forget the level of hospitality. But anyway, in Thailand, right now I'm affiliated with the College of Political Science at Chulalongkorn University, and they don't charge me anything. Sometimes I just want them to charge me.
Do you feel a bit guilty?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I can donate. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a bigger question here, right? Like,
Oh.
um, is can there be a more equal and reciprocal relationship between the academics and the organizations, right? I mean, like, can we give something in return? Is that something you have thought of?
Yeah, but the returns we can give to them are very like abstract, and which that might come or might not come. And Dikohi was the organization I was informally affiliated with. I got visa with other organizations like PSHK, which I forgot the full name of the organization. It was NGO/research institute working for legal issues, legal and more formal issues like watching the parliament watch, something like that. And I was actually formally affiliated with this organization because my advisor, Pak Bill, suggested me to go there. But Pak Bill did not know them personally. And yeah, they were very kind to me too. And they invited me to their activities and they gave me an office space. But anyway, in the end, I had to extend my visa again and again, and it was a hassle. Like they had to give the head of the organization had to give me the full information of his identity card and everything, like every month. So I just really wish that I could pay them in return. And then, of course, I went back to PSHK and also like some places in Aceh that I felt indebted to, and I gave them my doctoral dissertation, the printed ones, but I never think that's enough.
Yes, not enough,
Not
certainly.
enough, right?
I mean, we
So
have so
yeah,
many debts, right, that we have to
right,
pay.
right.
Yeah. Do you think it's possible to pay some? I mean, not the fee, right? Not monetary, but write something for them, like in their newsletter, or give a workshop or something. Do you think that could be done more?
Workshops would be okay, but another thing is that okay, these friends help me, but maybe my political opinion or my opinion as a scholar is not 100% identical with them.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one thing. And I think at around 2017 or 18, one friend suggested me to write the opinion op-ed on Jakarta Post about the 65 massacres, and the government should do something about 65 massacres, etc. I felt like I could do this, but there are people who write op-ed in Jakarta Post on the same issue. And would this really help? I mean, how effective would it be? I mean, so yeah, I just didn't write any op-ed on the issue and focused on my academic research.
Yeah. I mean, for a long time when I was still in academia, I would think my research itself is a way to return, right? That's what I
It
thought
should
for
be.
a long time. But I don't know if it's true anymore. You know, especially these days. I mean, we publish, try to publish in tier journals and good journals, and our audience are academics. We just write for academics. We are not really engaging with the issues that the organizations are facing, right? Do you think it's enough, or we have to make a deliberate effort to do more, right? To give back to the organizations.
Yeah, but as I just said, we cannot do it in the way they want us to do, right? We should decide how we can contribute to the whole community or to the organizations.
Mm.
Like, yeah. So, for
Yeah.
example, if my Thai friends are like pro-toxin and I'm anti-toxin, let's just assume that I'm not anti-toxin or pro-toxin or anything. But I cannot just, write for example, if they asked me to write an op-ed, which they didn't do, but I just cannot write an op-ed like pro-toxin or anti-toxin according to their political opinion, right?
Can I ask you about the how they help you with the research? So, do they introduce people for you to speak to, or do you mainly speak with the leaders and the veterans of those organizations?
Both ways. Yeah. So once I become close to, for example, the Ikohi, it's not like they or one or two people there are like main resource persons. They introduce me to everybody. Doesn't work that way. I need to do my own research. For example, like there's 5 weekdays a week, and then on Monday I go to Ikohi, for example. On Tuesday I go to the library of the ONASA, which is National Human Rights Organizations, and then I make photocopies of the reports and identify the people I want to interview, for example. And then after that, I will ask around to find the I don't know telephone numbers of these people, and we need to make multiple networks because it's people, right? It's people. Some people hate each other or unnecessarily competitive with each other. So yeah, there are friends who are really trying to help me out in Ikohi or in other NGOs, but there are like people who think, "Oh, you're Ikohi kid," for example,
Right.
so you're not one of us, something like that. So I need to attend many workshops, seminars, and activities of other organizations as well, which can be still a problem up to this day. Like, so in January, I was having a lunch with another activist in Indonesia, and she was not very happy with the fellow Indonesian activists getting, I think, awards or recognition from Korea Foundation, etc. So I had to explain that it was not me who recommended him,
Yeah.
etc. Yeah, so people are not 100% happy with each other, right? So we need to do very well between them, among them,
Yeah.
and it's always helpful to make multiple networks and meet people who are more open and friendly to you and to other people in general.
Yeah, I mean, when you first begin, it's you are not totally not aware of the environment or the politics among these organizations. So that's something you really need to find time to understand, right? Do you
Sure.
feel that you have a better understanding now of the politics?
And geopolitics?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I made this it's a major chapter of my dissertation. And I did 3 job talks with this chapter, and I got all three jobs. So, yeah.
Any advice you would give to like, for example, a Korean student who's going to the field in Indonesia or Thailand for the first time?
Interestingly, no Korean student ever asked me advice from me. I don't know. One of the advice I give them is avoid spending too much time with Koreans because that will like limit your network maybe. Yeah. Of course, you can be introduced to key persons through Korean network. But yeah, you need to. Once I was talking to a Besaka activist Besaka was the organization I was formally affiliated with in the earlier stage of my research. And then I was talking to him or her, I forgot, about learning Indonesian. learning Indonesian language. And then I said this stupid thing of like, so many people learn Indonesian language to talk to their like mates or drivers. I was so surprised after saying this. How can I say this? And I was at that time, I think I was still talking to some Koreans, like Professor Shin, who was visiting from Korea. And then after that, I just cut out all Korean networks and focus on my Indonesian friends. I was not really close to Koreans living there in 2010.
Can I ask you about some of the specific research projects that you did, right? I mean, some of it is historical, got to do with memory, justice. So very interesting. I mean, so in a way, you do oral history in a way, right? When you speak to people. Any interesting stories from your research on the 1965-66 massacres in Indonesia?
Maybe a stupid story from my side again. So there was this house in Jakarta where the former, we say, victims of 65 purge are living together. Like, they're former, of course, communist activists or pro-communist activists. And most of them are women, and I was close to women living there. So we talked for the whole morning, I think. These women were, most of them were already mothers in 1965, right? They had like children, but after that, the children were adopted by other kind people, or they just lost contacts with them. And after a decade or so many years, they could not just, depend on their children. So they had this separate home where they lived together. And then after the hours of interview, a woman there gave me a letter because I told them I need to go to the immigration office in the afternoon. And she said, "Oh, my son was working in the immigration office. So can you take this letter to him?" Like that. And then I went to the immigration office and asked the name of this guy who was her son. But the immigration official told me that he cannot introduce me to him without me showing this person this letter. So very stupidly, I showed him this letter, and it's a personal letter, right, from a mother to a son. And the content was like, the mother, as a mother, she needs to have an eye surgery, and she was collecting money or donations maybe for the surgery, but it's a bit still, she needed some more rupiahs. So she was asking for help from herself, who was living separately with her. And the morning interview was from a very like activist perspective, right? So these women were still activists. They always joined the seminars, workshops, protests, and gave testimonies. And they like always wanted to say, they always said that they want to encourage young people who are activists right now. But on the other side, they had this like personal aspect, which I, as a stupid student, showed to immigration official who was totally unrelated. Yeah. Then anyway, I met her son, and the son bought me coffee. From 2013, I think Indonesian government made gave some created some funds to help the victims of crimes, and then some part of this one goes to the victims of 1965-66 purges. So they can get some extra help.
When you speak to the women, the mothers, was it difficult for them to tell you about the past? Did they try to avoid, or did they try to tell some other people's stories, right, rather than their own stories?
Yeah, well, my interview questions were quite open-ended, and I wanted to hear what they wanted to tell me rather than forcing them to ask my questions. So most of my questions were about the current, at the time, activism, 2010. And as I already told you, they joined lots of activities, and they told me that they actually had no hope for transitional justice or whatever, but they just do this to encourage young people and give them some hope. Uh, and I think also it's like their habit, right? As a former activist, they just continue their like struggle activism for the rest of their life. And also they gave me some information like their or some organizations collected early in 2000, 2001. But interestingly, there was this older sister of this household of activists, and she, maybe not interestingly, yeah, she just tried to explain about her glorious days, back in 1950 when she first joined Gerwani, the Indonesian women's movement, and how they tried to change Indonesia. Yeah, it touched my heart.
How do you evaluate, or how do you think about that kind of perspective, that kind of story? That those were the glorious days.
Yeah, well, they were victims, but also they became victims because they were fighters, right? So they cannot really shed out of this fighter identity, and they really don't want to shed out this fighter identity and just become like 100% victims. So in the NGO activities, they introduce themselves as korban, victims of 1965, korban 65. What they really mean is like they're like alumni of the communist movement. And many of them are still very proud of their identity, and they continue their activism. Not only in Jakarta, like I visited this central town in central Java, Purwokerto. I heard that in Purwokerto there is still very strong activism of the former victims of 65. At that time, in 2010, they filled the auditorium. Yeah, very active, and I was invited to a house of a former like victim, who is of course an activist, and he was very close to the students activists of the time. So he was like their like patron, not in the sense of financial power, just encouragement, right? And sharing ideas with the student activists or young activists in their 20s. So yeah, I actually have a Korean article on this dual side, like fighter slash victim, but nobody is reading. Yeah, I I sort of developing this idea into a book or something like that, but it was a long time ago, and now I'm not working on this idea.
And now, are you doing something related to political violence in in Thailand?
No, and yes, because I just learned that to become affiliated visiting researcher at Chulalongkorn University, you should get a research permit from the National Research Foundation of Thailand. So you cannot just become a visiting researcher without any specific research agenda, related to Thailand. That's reasonable. And my research agenda is actually this time, I forgot the full name, but it's about Muslim-related government policies, elections and Muslim-related government policies in Thailand, I think. So that's what I'm interested in. And I'm mostly interested in like non-violence, yeah, aspects of policies. Like how would Muslims react? How do and would Muslims react to these issues of, like, for example, equal marriage, same-sex marriage, or casino, or like the liberalizing sex work? And also, I was interested in maybe their reaction or their efforts in lobbying the Thai government into in this Israel-Hamas conflict and something like that. You cannot really avoid the Malay-Muslim conflict issue when you talk about like Muslims in Thailand and politics. So while I will recruit the interviewees with my questions, these politics, I would, of course, not prohibit them from talking about Dakbai or Sudan conflict.
So when you have, published this research, some of it is in Western journals and some of it is in Korean journals. How have Korean scholars, right, who work on Southeast Asian studies, maybe just Korean politics, how have they shown interest in what is happening in Southeast Asia?
Difficult to say. Okay, so in 2005 or 2006, 18 years ago, right? The Korean Political Science Association organized a graduate student panel for the first time. And the organizer invited me to the panel because he knew that I was writing a thesis on Taktingok. And I said yes. And in 2 days, I got a call from him. I'm sorry. The senior political scientist said your issue is like too marginal and it is not worth discussing it. Korean political science actually shocked that I knew that this issue was probably marginal to the political science community as a whole in Korea, but I didn't expect them to actually say that and prohibit me from presenting my research in the
This was
conference
a
because of
conference of Korean politics or Southeast Asia politics?
the Korean Political Science Association conference.
Okay.
So if you go to American Political Science Association conference, yeah, they have sections like American politics, international relations, comparative politics, and in comparative politics section, you can of course do presentation about Southeast Asia or India or Korea. Although the amount of panels in comparative politics is of course smaller than those in American politics. Right now, maybe more interesting. I think but I don't really interact with other political scientists these days. So I don't know what they think. Yeah. So some of them, invite me to their projects to work with them. But I think others still have the same idea, and Southeast Asia is really marginal.
Yeah. When I was teaching at Sogang, I taught very few students, we all didn't have many students, but most of them were not interested in politics, right? They were interested in like anthropology, religion, that kind of thing, which is very common in Southeast Asian studies, right?
Right.
So, do you think 10 years ago there was this optimism about Korean Southeast Asian studies? Do you think that optimism is still there today? That Korea will be the next area of Southeast Asian studies, right? Do you think that's still true today?
I think, yes, I see more and more students at Seoul International University not from my College of Humanities, but College of Social Sciences and other artists that are who are interested in Southeast Asian studies. But institutionally, I think not many Southeast Asianists in Korea are like aiming for the like next Singapore or next Netherlands or next Britain. We don't really talk about that. And the Southeast Asianists I know are people who are trained in political science or anthropology, history, are still the same people you know. Yeah, with a few more. And when for example, after I moved to Seoul National University, and then in my mailbox there are seminar, there are announcements of seminars and workshops, so many other people are doing Southeast Asian studies in terms of education or research. Like in the College of Education, they have, I forgot the full name, but Global Education Corporation or something like that. So they have this English major specialized in, I think, education aid donor programs to other countries. And one of the major regions is Southeast Asia for these donor programs. So yeah, the expansion of aid is one factor that keeps people getting more interest in Southeast Asia. And they actually there are some new PhDs from this program, and also in agriculture economy. I don't know anybody personally there, but they have classes on Southeast Asia, and they recruit students who are interested in Southeast Asia, and they have big conferences with like BRIN. BRIN is the Indonesian National Research Institute / Foundation, the giant body created under Jokowi. So yeah, there are Southeast Asian studies going on very actively. Blossoming in some parts, especially those related to AIDS. But yeah, it's not like undergraduate students are coming. So many undergraduate students are coming to me to become a Southeast Asian major or something like that. It's not the case.
Currently, you have students, right? You have PhD students. You have graduate students.
No, as I told you, we don't have a PhD program. We have MA and BA programs. MA program, we have one student.
Okay.
Very smart one. BA program, we also have students, but very few. Like students can choose their major. Yeah, very few students come to us. Some of the students who choose our major, like Southeast Asian major, their background is like they lived in Vietnam as a kid or something like that. So this is new because in my generation, nobody lived in Vietnam as a kid, right? And from the 90s, 2000, I heard that the international schools in Ho Chi Minh City or Hanoi, half of the classes are Koreans. Yeah. Some of the students are coming back to Korea take my classes, but not all of them are interested in Southeast Asian studies.
I just have one last question, right? Which is, what is your experience of writing in English? Or writing in English and publishing in English journals? Because I think the methodology is quite different. The style is quite different.
Well, I'm struggling. I think as I'm quite a good writer in Korean. Yeah, I read very fast in Korean. I can write very quickly in Korean, but I style because so many Korean, especially political scientists, were educated in the U.S.
Yeah,
the style not very different. Just the language.
just the language.
Korean or English, and with the help of like the new applications, AI based or not. I just feel more confident after, put myself in their boxes and then, like, the apps, right? That you can use for correcting your sentences. Sometimes they just correct A to B and then B to A, something like that. But I still feel better. And English is it's difficult to write in English, and of course, as a Korean, I feel more confidence in writing in Korean. But yeah, I think it's inevitable that as a Southeast Asian we would want to publish in English because Southeast Asian French don't read Korean language, right? 2 years ago, I published this small piece on Timor-Leste, and I heard that some people were trying to Google translate the whole document or something like that. So I felt like I did a very bad thing to them. What I tried to do was there are so few little knowledge on Timor-Leste in Korean language, so I tried to add some, right? But if the Timorese friends or colleagues cannot read them, yeah, I need to rethink my publication strategy. So right now I'm writing in English exclusively, yeah, for academic journal. And then I think I didn't publish a lot in America. I published 0 article with American journals, maybe 2 with European.
Yeah, the Dutch
Yeah,
journal, right?
yeah, and then the Southeast Asia research in 2019. There are very good journals.
Yeah,
Whenever I have an opportunity, I will try to publish with Asian journals too.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the language is what matters, not the venue of journals, like how distinguished they are. Like doesn't really. Yeah.
I always find that the Korean, like you said in the beginning, a lot of the Korean scholars would go to the US, right, for their
Right.
studies. And you're all very well trained, right? You are much better trained than me. I went to Australia, which had a more loosely
Is it
structured
so?
system.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I
I
mean,
don't know about the Australian
I
system
mean,
at
you
all.
have classes, you have
Yeah, we have
language,
classes.
and
Yeah.
you have exams and all that. We never did that, right, in Australia. But then you come back to Korea, and it kind of you become Koreanized. You become domesticated in a way. I mean, that's a bad word, right? But you become like your seniors, in a way. And how much of the American learning and influence do you think is important for Korean scholars?
I think very important to most of my political scientist colleagues because they not only graduate from their program to land on a good job in Korea. It's a norm that they spend more time as an assistant professor or postdoc in America. So they just learn the full norm there, academic norms and everything. In my case, I did my PhD for 6 years, but if I count the months, I stayed only like 3 years and 8 months in Ohio. I love Ohio and Ohio State
Yeah,
University,
yeah.
OH. Anyway, I stayed in Jeonju with my husband or Jakarta for my PhD research, and in Kyoto again with my husband, but also as a visiting researcher myself. So, and from the Ohio State, my major comparative politics, the friends didn't really graduate a lot. So I don't really have many scholar friends in the US. So for me personally, I learned a lot in the US. I still use some of the knowledge there. And of course, the networks I got from the Ohio State, from Bill and my Indonesian friends. But I think I am not that influenced by the development there right now.
Thank you so much, Jiwon, for sharing with us and putting up with all my questions.
Okay.
I think it's very important, right? Like you said, to talk about this relationship that we establish in the field with the organizations,
Okay.
and this obligation that I think we still have to give them back something, right? We should never, as academics, we should never forget that.
So my obligation was was a bit cleared by appearing on your podcast, right?
No, the aim of this podcast is to make everyone a bit guilty.
Okay. Okay, so from now on, I should contribute more.
Me too. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, but we should contribute, but we also have to find happiness. Happiness is one of the Thai keywords too. Thais to say a lot about happiness. Finding happiness comes to. So finding our happiness as a scholar is also one of our goals, right? So I think we should balance.
Certainly agreed. Thank you very much, Jiwon. So enjoy your time in Bangkok, and hope to see you in Singapore soon.
Hey, why don't you visit Bangkok?
I have nothing to do there except maybe food.
It's good. We have fun here.
I will try to come. Yeah.
Okay. It was good to talk to you. After
same
many
here.
years.
Talk to you again. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.